There were a great number of things that Octavion loathed, but at the top of the list was the perfume of the impoverished, or rather the scent of their neighborhoods. His nostrils flared up angrily as he paused for but a moment upon crossing the threshold between the marketplace and the slums. He pressed on, but he watched the ground so that neither his feet nor the end of his cane plopped into any unsavory puddles. Octavion was a fine, half-fey man with a gimpy leg, something he had been born with. Once upon a time, he had been one of the poor souls who lived in these very slums. His life had changed forever when Lady Renea Futt discovered him singing in that little hole-in-the-wall tavern. The man Octavion had become was a refined and well-to-do person. Never again would he suffer the squalor of the slums, not living here anyway. He was a person of average height, with short, well-groomed black hair and a pair of gleaming orange eyes. It was those eyes that caught Lady Futt's attention 40 years ago. But it was Octavion's voice that enchanted her. Today, Octavion wore a pair of cerulean-colored silk pants, a pair of dragon-skin leather boots, a white silk buttoned-up shirt, and a matching cerulean-colored jacket. The end of Octavion's cane had a vibrant green emerald on top of it. His pointed half-fey ears extended off of his head. A squatty, rock gnome woman walked beside him. Her name was Aedelon, and she was his bodyguard. In terms of height, she came up to Octavion's shoulder. She wore a studded leather vest, a pair of steel bracers, a pair of dark slacks, and some steel and leather boots. Her weapons of choice hung on her hips. On her right hip she had a warhammer, and on the left, a wicked-looking war axe. Aedelon's hair was light brown and cut short, and the bottom of her hairline went to her chin. Her irises were bright yellow. One of her most noticeable features were her massive, toned biceps, forearms, and thigh muscles.
I really do love coming down here with you. It's always great to see how uncomfortable you get.
I'm glad that you find my discomfort so amusing. Then again, I also know for a fact that you love going to our destination. So, I suppose it's a double treat for you? Triple, if you include the fact that I pay you.
That is the thing I love most. But really, Octi, do you really have to dress like that? Especially when we come down here? You're just asking for trouble.
If trouble does seek me out, then I expect you to do what you do best, aside from giving me grief.
What I do best, huh? It depends on who you ask. My enemies will have very different opinions than my lovers as to what those skills are.
Yes. All the ladies love you. I shouldn't be too long, so there should be a little time for you to woo one of your regulars.
Once again, Octi, you doubt my charm. I bet 100 gold I'll have at least one pretty little mama eating out of my hand before you're ready to leave.
I'll pass, thank you. I learned my lesson the last time.
Ah, Darman. She was a real beaut. I actually saw her several days ago. She may be the one. Do you think she'll be at the One-Eyed Possum?
I hope for your sake she is. To be honest, so long as Diva Dragon is there tonight, I'll be happy.
I'm sure she will be. It is her night to perform after all. And Diva Dragon never misses a performance.
No, she does not. Other bodyguards I've hired usually disliked going to these events, and were terrible company. I appreciate that you are great about it.
Are you kidding me? I love these kinds of shows. They're the best. Money aside, it's like we're hanging out as friends. I think we make a great pair.
That we do. Be vigilant. We might, in fact, find trouble after all.
Their destination, the One-Eyed Opossum, was one of his regular haunts, when Octavion wasn't at parties, balls, audience chambers, or guild houses negotiating political favors and connections. Despite his elegant appearance, Octavion was no mere weak target for thugs. Many people had made that assumption in the past, at their own peril. His own skills were nothing compared to that of Aedelon's, though. Octavion and Aedelon walked calmly down one of the slum's main avenues. Due to his crippled nature, Octavion was quite slow, and Aedelon casually strolled beside him. They came to a potter's workshop, and then he led them down an alley right beside it.
And so, we enter into the more dangerous part of the trip? Are you ready?
You bet your frou-frou-ass I am.
The shadows seemed to loom around them as Octavion and Aedelon moved away from the more crowded sections of the slums and into the often avoided and unseen network of alleyways and smaller streets. These neighborhoods were the seedy underbellies of the city of Black Plains. Behind the main rows of houses and businesses in the slums, there were various sub-communities where even the city guards refused to go. Octavion and Aedelon moved out from the alleyway and into one such neighborhood. There were few people in the street, and those in sight wore hoods and cloaks to conceal who they were. They moved quickly and didn't tarry. All of the various sub-communities had their own names, and this one was called Vice Plains. It was notorious for being a place where one could get things that weren't sold elsewhere. While it wasn't the most dangerous sub-community, it wasn't the safest either. They turned a corner, but then stopped as a pair of brutish-looking men blocked their path. Octavion glanced over his shoulder, and just as he expected, two more moved in from behind. Aedelon chuckled, but Octavion maintained his neutral expression. The thugs wore low-quality leather armor vests and average, commoner slacks and boots. Their weapons appeared to be shoddy swords. A well-dressed man stepped out from behind the two men in front. The man was older by human standards and had a balding scalp. Once upon a time, Gibraltar Gomez had been rumored to have the most beautiful locks in the city. That all changed after Gibraltar cheated on a previous witch lover. Definitely not a smart decision, and so his paltry balding hair was the result. Gibraltar had a bushy blonde mustache, however, that was still quite impressive. His attire, while not as nice as Octavion's, was quite luxurious, being made from silk and satin. A set of dark blue silk slacks with a sparkling magenta overcoat and a bright white blouse made him stand out almost as much as Octavion. The man wore a pair of unicorn skin boots.
Well, well, well. Look what we have here, my unscrupulous fellows. The Herald of Lady Fut. All alone.
He's not alone, you pompous peacock.
Oh, my apologies. I didn't even notice you. You're just as grimy as the foul rats who live here. So I thought you were a local. It matters not. You were foolish to come out here so under-defended, Octavion. As you can see, I have more.
What I see, Herald of the boorish Lord Masonworth, is that you are protected by knuckle-dragging, inbred cut-purses, while I have a fierce former adventurer by my side. Quantity versus quality. Quality wins out. At least, in this situation, it does.
How dare you insult my lord? He is not boorish. Lord Masonworth is the most influential noble in all of Black Plains, and an advisor to the Merchant Council.
Do not forget that my patroness, Lady Fut, sits on the Merchant Council, while your master is a glorified page.
Your lady is as useful to the Merchant Council as your gimpy leg is to you. She dangles there, hoping that the other members take pity on her. Soon she shall be toppled.
Topple? Like your master's plots with Lord Darkin's daughter? It's a shame that your master's engagement fell through.
Oh, I know you had something to do with it. I shall never forgive you, you conniving cripple.
It doesn't matter what you think you know. It only matters.
Enough! You two need to hook up and shut up. Goddess damn it. Let's just start the rumble already. You are here to kill us, aren't you?
The four thugs surrounding Octavion and Aedelon placed their hands on their weapons, but they didn't draw them yet. Instead, they watched Gibraltar expectantly. Despite the danger, Octavion grinned.
Your current companion has no appreciation for mocking banter. I much preferred the one you had 3 bodyguards ago.
This one is far more capable than any I've ever had. Still, the one you prefer was nice eye candy and was great at conversation. If you value the lives of your friends, I suggest you retreat.
Ha! Value? Are you sure you weren't meant to be a comedian instead of a singer? Slay the cripple and the rock gnome, and you will be paid handsomely.
The four thugs drew their weapons, but Octavion steadied himself on his good leg. He lifted his cane toward Gibraltar and the 2 thugs in front of him. Meanwhile, Aedelon pivoted around and charged the men behind him.
Oh no! Oh!
Gibraltar then threw himself back into the alley from which he had come, just as the emerald top of Octavion's cane glowed brilliantly. A wide cone of light blasted out. The pair of men screamed, and when the light faded, both men were covered in corrosive acid that was currently eating away at their flesh and bone. Octavion placed his cane back on the ground, and he regarded the spectacle behind him. Aedelon had her warhammer and axe drawn, one in each hand respectively. Whenever one of the thugs swung at her, she parried the blow away. And one thug thrusted his sword toward her face, but she sidestepped it. Her hammer rushed forth and collided with the man's stomach. Aedelon ducked again and avoided the other thug's blade. She arched her axe arm around and caught the man in the ribcage. Her savage hammer crunched the man's face a moment later.
Oh, no you don't!
Aedelon leaned back as the sword nearly sliced her nose. She hopped in with a speed that didn't match the other's expectations and smashed the man's mouth and lower jaw. He whimpered and dropped his sword. Before he could grab his mouth, for all the good that would have done him, Aedelon brought the hammer down as hard as she could, right on the man's left temple. Slowly, Octavion regarded the pair he had dealt with, but only half of their bodies remained. Aedelon placed her weapons back on her belt, and she let out a satisfied sigh.
That should keep the rest of the rabble at bay. Between my martial skills and your magical spells, we're a pretty great team.
Do not forget my social connections, my etiquette, my charm, and information gathering skills. What else do you bring to the table?
Well, you're also gimpy, arrogant, and gaudy.
Those things are a matter of opinion and perspective.
Not the gimpy part. No amount of framing is going to change the fact that you hobble slower than a tortoise with 2 broken legs. What happened to the other frou-frou one?
He must have escaped in the confusion. Without a proper escort, he's liable to be robbed. What a pity. It will be an even more egregious pity when it gets out that he failed to assassinate us.
You frou-frou types sure have weird ways to have fun. Let's get going. I'm thirsty.
Octavion moved around the disgusting remains, and soon he and Aedelon turned at another corner intersection. Nestled down the street between a butcher's shop and an apothecary was their destination. It was an austere-looking tavern with drab exterior walls, windows with black glass, and a thick, dark wooden door. A small sign hung above the door with the painted image of an opossum with a patch over one eye. The one-eyed opossum was a wonderful place for those who knew the secret password to get inside. To anyone else, it was an exclusive club that denied entry to anyone else. Octavion knocked 3 times on the front door, waited a second, then knocked twice more. A small window appeared on the door, and a pair of brown eyes peeked out.
What are the 3 qualities of being fabulous?
Sparkles, glitter, and confidence.
The window shut, and a second later the door unlocked. It opened a second later, with a broad-shouldered man standing in the entryway. Boris the bouncer grinned widely.
Octavion! Aedelon! It's so great to see you again. Come in!
Boris ushered them in, and then bolted the door behind him. The initial foyer of the one-eyed opossum was an enclosed space with polished dark wooden floors, a counter against one wall, and a couch against the other wall. The walls were covered in hot pink wallpaper, and the couch matched its color as well. Another doorway was straight ahead of them, opposite the front door. Music emanated from the next room, and the murmurs of a crowd resounded too. Boris sat down on a stool beside the door.
If you're looking for Diva Dragon, you're in luck. She's about to go on next.
Wonderful. Thank you, Boris.
So, Boris. I don't suppose Darmin's here, is she?
Girl, she's been coming nearly every night for a week. Ha! What did you do to her?
It's a trade secret, my man. If I told you, I'd have to slice off your manhood. Sorry, it's lesbian law. I don't make the rules.
Oh, I get it. Have fun, you two. Try and add a little more pleasure with your business, Octavion.
I will consider it. Would 2 hours be enough time for you?
Aw, come on! Can you give me 3?
2.5?
You spoil me. Thank you.
Aedelon rushed through the doorway, and Octavion slowly followed behind her. As soon as he entered the majority of the one-eyed opossum, he stopped just left of the door. A small smile crept onto his face. The crowd was fairly packed tonight, with people at most of the tables and booths. Patrons were seated by the bar on stools, and one of which was the infamous Darmin. From what intel Octavion had gathered on her, Darmin was a wealthy, noble debutante from a family with old money. Easy on the eyes, for sure, with long, dark brown hair and a pair of baby brown eyes. Tonight, she wore an orange dress that stopped at her mid-thigh and a pair of heels. As soon as Darmin and Aedelon approached her, her smile erupted brighter than a sunrise.
What a shame. I did so enjoy our time together, Aedelon. It's only a matter of time.
Such was the way of things, and quite often Octavion's path diverted from those he started to regard as friends. Friendships usually didn't end, but they certainly changed. And soon his dynamic with the rock gnome would transform. Aedelon had been right. It was clear to see from anyone who bothered to look at her and Darmin. To his great fortune, there was an open booth near the large stage that dominated most of the far wall. At the moment, a woman danced on stage as several commoner bards played instrumental music. The woman wore a sparkling pink dress that appeared to be made from glitter. Her hair, most likely a fine wig, was large and well designed. The woman wore bright eyeshadow, thick lipstick, and she had contoured her cheeks to make them stand out. And what was her performer name again? Ah yes, Madame Succubest. And while she wasn't Octavion's favorite performer, Madame Succubest was certainly quite skilled. She danced on stage with over-the-top movements, and she had her strut down quite well. Octavion sat down at the booth, and he waited. All around him, people were gathered together, engaging in socializing, laughing, and even dancing together themselves. The One-Eyed Opossum was a secret sanctuary for those just like Octavion, who wanted to get away from the prying eyes and enjoy the fabulous stylings of drag shows. A half-fae server approached him with short blue-dyed hair and a pair of sparkling green eyes. They grinned at Octavion and brought over a glass of fine ogre red wine.
Oh, hey Octavion. Glad to see you here tonight. You here for fun or for work?
For work, I'm afraid. However, there is no better place I'd rather work. Can you please tell Diva Dragon I would love to see her after her performance?
Sure thing, sweetie. You want anything else? You know, aside from your usual?
Octavion pulled a golden coin from his pouch and he handed it to Mully.
You always take care of me. I'll be fine. How's your mother?
Oh yeah, she's doing so much better after you got us that medicine. So, thanks.
Of course.
Mully disappeared into the crowd moments later, and Octavion settled himself for a little wait. It wasn't long before an announcer called out,
All right, ladies, gentlemen, and travelers, put your hands together for Diva Dragon!
The crowd, including Octavion, clapped loudly as the tall drag queen took the stage. Diva Dragon was a half-ogre by birth, and she honed her features to become the pinnacle of fabulousness. Her dress was light green and it sparkled in the light. She wore 3-inch dark green heels, which pushed her even taller than most, as she was already 6'8". A pair of green sparkling wings extended from the back of her dress. The underside of the wings were cream-colored, which blended well with the greenness of the dress. Diva Dragon wasn't wearing a wig, and her thick, luscious black hair was all her own. It was styled in an updo. She also wore a crown on her head that had 2 glittery horns coming off the front. Diva Dragon wore bright purple eyeshadow, thick, bright crimson lipstick, and complementing blush. Her fingernails matched her dress. Her brown eyes scanned the room, and she grinned widely.
Greetings, all my little lovelies. Are you ready to see this fierce dragon dance?
Once more, the crowd cheered. And so Diva Dragon danced. She stepped with immense poise and grace and whirled about on stage. Her wings were a spectacle to behold as she waved her hands about as if casting magic. Each step was perfectly in sync with her body, and Octavion rested his head on his hand. The dance ended, and Diva Dragon gave a dramatic bow. People came up and placed golden and silver coins in a metal vase. Eloquently, Diva Dragon reached down and picked up the coins.
Oh, you all do this old dragon's heart so good. Thank you for adding to my hoard, my lovelies.
Diva Dragon got off stage, but it was another 15 minutes before she managed to get to Octavion's booth. She plopped down across from him. Mully brought over another ogre red for Octavion and 2 glasses of water, and a large mug of rock gnome lager for the diva. Diva Dragon downed one of the glasses of water.
I am so fortunate to be able to still be doing this. Life is good.
Oh, come now. You'll still be on stage for decades to come.
No, my old friend, I'm not like you. I don't age slowly. I'm coming to the end of my performing career.
That's a shame to hear. As someone who has been one of your biggest fans for the last 25 years, I will mourn your absence.
Well, firstly, you and I are friends. Secondly, I'm actually taking over management for the one-eyed possum next year. Good old Rika is finally retiring. And she wanted to pass it along to someone who will keep it going. And thirdly, I know full well you love my information network as much as you love my showmanship.
That certainly is true, on all accounts. I'm glad the drag world isn't losing you.
Oh, of course not. I've already been training drag kings and queens to be my eyes and ears in the city. You won't lose me anytime soon, old friend. So long as you keep the gold flowing, then my insight is open to you.
Thank you. Being my mistress's spy master is rewarding, but there are few who understand me or what I go through. Now, on to business. Were you able to gather intel on what I asked of you?
Do manticores have innies instead of outies? Of course I did. It seems Lord Koshua Jorth has been quite busy as of late, especially with trying to enact secret meetings with distant lords.
Oh? What kind of meetings?
My sources indicate that Lord Jorth is trying to undercut your ladyship on her mercantile trade by finding and securing silk manufacturers in distant parts of the kingdom.
I don't suppose that you have a list of the manufacturers he's reaching out to?
Would you come to me if I didn't have it already prepared? In addition to the names of the manufacturers, I've also divulged where his secret warehouses are, where he has been stockpiling large quantities of silk.
He did try to press the Merchant Council to give him more permits and licenses for cloth distribution. While my master opposed it, it was actually approved. I have my strong suspicions that Lord Jorth has some of the other families in his pocket.
Oh, you would be smart to think so. And this is why you're one of the most dangerous men in all of Black Plains. Lord Jorth has tried his best to conceal which lords and ladies he's made backroom deals with.
I am already aware that Lord Veeder, Lady Tussmeyer, and Lord Wedham have created unsettling alliances. I'm already at work with undermining their relationships as we speak.
I can't say I'm surprised you know that. You are you, after all. But would you like to know the other two names?
How much per name?
Let's say 500 gold per.
You are true to your namesake.
Listen, sweetie, this is all for the Horde.
Done.
Lord Wallenstein and Lady Gavirin.
I suppose the old adage is true. There are no permanent friends or permanent enemies, only permanent interests.
Those are true words indeed. So, what are you going to do with that information?
I will crush them all and orchestrate the crumbling of their wealths and statuses. You have given me targets, and now I will do what I do best.
Ooh, goddess help them.
Not even the goddesses can save them from my wrath. No one opposes Lady Fut.
And that is why I'm never going to get on your bad side, or your ladies. How long does the Pipsqueak Bruiser have you here this time,
2.5 hours.
Then it looks like you have time to kill.
Oh, please, no.
Diva Dragon had already stood up, and she waved her hands about.
Ladies, gentlemen, and travelers, we have a special treat! Who else would like to hear Octavion grace us with his lovely voice?
Within the span of a breath, the crowd was cheering. Octavion chuckled to himself, rose from the booth, and made his way to the stage.